Go ahead. Make my day.
Long live the king. You killed him. No. I am your father.
I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog, too. Ah!
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Hey there everyone, it's obviously 2003 here, and I am joined with Augie the Froggy.
Hey.
Yes, and we're doing our movie corner segment, and today we're going to go ahead and talk about the movie that just came out not too long ago. Is the Iron Claw. And no, it's not a Bruce Lee movie. It's a movie about it's a movie about the Von Erich family or wrestling dynasty.
Yeah, the IMDb tagline is the true story of the inseparable Von Erich brothers who made history in the intensely competitive world of professional wrestling in the early 1980s. And this movie was directed by Sean Durkin, who I guess is known for his 2011 movie Martha, Marcy, May, Marlena. And I think he did some episodes of the recently, I think it was on Amazon, the Dead Ringers remake. He did some episodes on that. And the movie stars mostly Zac Efron from High School Musical fame and Bad Grandpa or something, Dirty Grandpa, Sneaky Grandpa, or I don't know, those grandpa movies, right?
Maybe? Oh,
Wasn't he in some grandpa movie with Robert De Niro?
I don't.
All right, well, I'll look it up. I have the computer, and then he plays Kevin Von Erich and Jeremy Allen White, who's known for, I guess, Shameless and The Bear. I'm not too familiar with this guy. Plays Kerry Von Erich. Harris Dixon plays David Von Erich, and those are the three primary actors. And Mara Turney plays Doris Von Erich, the mom, and Holt McCallany plays Fritz Von Erich, who I remember him from Mindhunters. But those are the primary actors in the movie.
Cool. And it was what, A24?
Yeah, I guess it was an A24 movie. All right, well, I guess the Von Erichs were a group of wrestling brothers that are like well known around our parts because they wrestled out of Dallas, and we're in Texas. They were pretty well known. So I guess for the sake of this movie review, well, I guess if you're seeing this movie, it's like probably one of two possibilities. Either you're familiar with the family and a lot of the history of the brothers, or you're in the second camp who kind of just maybe saw it on a whim or just heard good things about it or don't know much about it or just seeing it knowing completely nothing about it. But I guess for the sake of this discussion, we're going to assume that you're in the first camp and you kind of know about the Von Erich family and the history of them a little bit. And we're kind of just going to talk about just various parts of the movies, not so much a play-by-play. And I guess it would be, spoilers from here on out?
Yeah, spoiler alert. Again, granted, it's based on actual events, but nonetheless, if you have not seen it or unfamiliar, as you mentioned, with the family, the Von Erichs, then yeah, spoiler alerts ahead.
So we saw this, I guess, the Saturday it came out. I guess after it came out, and it was a decent turnout in the theater. So hopefully it did well. I'm not too familiar, or I haven't kept up with how well it did. I know, like fucking Willy Wonka and Aquaman came out, I think, recently too.
Yeah,
So I don't know how.
Color Purple remake too. Like I think like that came out Christmas Day as well. So
Yeah. So I don't know. Either way, I'm just curious. Did you have any how was your approach going into this movie? I guess like having known somewhat about the Von Erichs. Like, what was did you have any strong initial thoughts going on into the movie?
I was curious. I vaguely knew of their history. Just from you and the brothers, just kind of talking about wrestling, growing up wrestling and whatnot. And um, I guess kind of knew not too much of them, so it's kind of interesting to see like how the story was going to be done. And then the I guess the actor who plays Kerry Von Erich, I guess he was the actor that you're unfamiliar with in Shameless and The Bear. So it's kind of trying to see him in this different type of role, I guess, because in those I've seen Shameless, haven't seen The Bear, but he's kind of a strong figure in that but he's not in, like the muscular kind of way, but like just kind of like the brains, I guess. And it's a very dynamic family. It's a funny show if you ever get around to seeing it. But he's a pivotal actor in that show, so I kind of want to see how he's going to be in this one. But yeah, I didn't really know too much. I mean, it's kind of a
Yeah, I know. I've got a couple of years on you, not many years, and then like my obviously the brother before me and the brother before him would know more about like the Von Erichs. And I guess it's a little known fact that our father met with Fritz von Erich, the father of the Von Erich brothers, and they were going to schedule a brothers versus brothers wrestling match. The five of us brothers were going to wrestle the five Von Erich brothers at some point in the future, but that never came to pass. So, but
went by default.
yeah, I guess so. Yeah, we're the official NWA. What is it? 5-man champions by default.
Yes.
That's very inappropriate. You need to take that insensitive joke out. But no, like I said, we're assuming that you guys know, the people that are listening know or I mean not know, but like maybe it doesn't matter that much, but it was like it was very known like for us since we were into wrestling, I guess, about the Von Erichs. Maybe not every detail, but we knew the tragedies and about like of the gist of them. And like it seemed like a movie would be inevitable, and even though when we first heard about it, it was still a surprise, and we still look forward to it. But I had my like doubts about the movie hardcore just because it was like in my head, and I probably mentioned it to you and anybody who would listen to me. It was like, I don't know how they're gonna do this because it's just too much tragedy and too much death, and it's like, how are they gonna character development? Like, how are they gonna do character development with all these characters dying, all these brothers, and it's real. Like, you can't like say, hey, you're taking it too, you're making it too sad, or you're too whatnot, because it's based on a true story, and it's all these brothers did die, and all these brothers, like, some of them killed themselves, and like, it's a sad story. So like in my head, it was like, I don't know if they're going to be able to successfully do that to make a good movie. And I guess like we're just kind of free roaming with this, but like, what did you think of the movie? Like, overall, did you like the movie? Did you not like the movie?
Um, I like the movie. I wasn't sure, yeah, what the tone was gonna be, or like how, but it was I guess done obviously in movie style, wasn't like done in documentary style. But I thought the story was told well, and that obviously is with any movie, and especially like this, it's gonna be what is it, creative reality or creative interpretation or creative liberties. There you go. So it's curious to see how different it is from the actual story, or like, I guess what truths were kind of left out or glossed over, or, I guess in certain events maybe. But
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, I'm just like, and I know we should have been better prepared, but like, so I know like the brothers. Let me see. There was a young brother that died. I guess he would officially be brother number one, but officially there was. Let me see. I forget. I think his name was Jack Von Erich, who died, I guess, when he was like a few years old in some accident. I forget. I don't know if he got electrocuted or drowned or something. And then of the wrestling brothers, the first one that was the wrestling brother was Kevin. And then there's David. And then there's Carrie. And then there's Michael. And then there was Chris. So there was, out of those, I guess there were 6 brothers total, but one died, like I said, when he was a few years old. And then there was 5 official brothers that partook in wrestling. And like I said, spoilers. And when it's like, I don't know, I don't know how, we'll see where this goes, but of the 5 brothers, and the movie goes over almost all of their brothers, except, I don't know if you were familiar, like, that's just one of the brothers was left out of the movie. I don't know if you heard that or not.
Chris told me that. I didn't know, but he mentioned something about there actually being 6 brothers, and they technically mentioned 5 of the 6.
Yeah, and then Chris was the brother that they left out. And then like I just like I'm trying like I try not to like, yeah, every time I see a movie I kind of look at stuff, but like I try not to look at too much like analysis of the movie if there's any.
Yep.
But a lot of the gripes, I guess, on this movie was that the last brother, Chris, was left out of the movie, and he committed suicide as well. So out of all the brothers, David died potentially drug overdose, something overseas, or just some type of stomach thing. Carrie committed suicide. Michael committed suicide. Chris committed suicide. So the movie focuses on Zach. Well, not focuses on, but the main character in the movie is Zac Efron's character, who plays Kevin. He plays a surviving brother. And just not going too much into it, it's their father was a wrestler, and that's how they got into the business. Their father was Fritz von Erich, and he was just like a heel wrestler, I guess, back in the day, probably during the 40s and 50s, I guess, maybe into the 60s. And he took on the name as Von Erich to be like a heel Nazi German character, I guess. But he's the one that got the brothers into the business. He was in the business and he got the brothers into the business, or his sons.
Oh, that makes sense. I didn't know, but yeah, in the movie they just said that for whatever reason they didn't give explanation that, but yeah, the dad just took on his mother's last name
Or grandmother or some type of thing like that. But
yeah.
I guess like just kind of circling back, that's kind of when like them leaving out the last brother that kind of committed suicide, the Chris Von Erich. Like I heard I guess the guy, the Sean Durkin, the director, was just saying that it was just too much. Like he didn't want to have too much like tragedy and like death in the movie.
Yeah.
And like that's what like kind of what I was thinking about going into it. Like it's gonna be a lot. Like for a documentary, like it works better to me as a documentary, just because in documentaries you can just convey the information without having to worry too much about like hardcore character development or attachment to characters and cinematography and all this stuff. Like you convey the information in documentaries.
Yeah.
And then they did put out a really good documentary on the brothers. I think it was WWF actually did it, because they basically own everything now, or they used to. I don't know. I know Vince sold them off, but anyway, I was just wondering how they were going to do the story with all this sadness and stuff like that, and all this tragedy without it seeming like too much, and it made sense for them to leave one of the brothers out.
Yeah.
So I think that's a lot of what the complaining, or a lot of the, I guess, blowback they've been getting a little. Not that it's bad or anything, but there a lot of the things have been about that
Criticism.
criticism. Yeah, that's a better word.
Yeah, but then well, obviously that person's dead with the suicide, but then depending, I guess, I'll say permissions, but with Kevin, the last living brother, depending if I guess whatever permission they got from him or from what you said, the director was just like, yeah, no, I don't want to be adding. There's only so much you can put through, I guess, with regards to the tragedy.
Yeah.
Because it did have its few up moments, and it wasn't just all Debbie Downer. I mean, it was pretty much the rise of this dynasty, and then it crumbling so fast.
Yeah, I don't know. It all took place with like, I don't know. I mean, you could look it up afterwards, but it wasn't. I would say less than 10 years, or even less than that. Like where all the brothers died, basically.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I was trying to fight my mindset of going into it that, hey, this is likely not gonna work. This movie's probably not gonna be any good, or not as good as a documentary is, because it's a different topic. But like, I followed the West Memphis 3 documentaries. Like, I don't know, like the Paradise Lost and Paradise Lost 2. And then there was like a third one. I think there was a fourth one when they got released, West Memphis 3. And I followed those documentaries for years, like 20 years or whatnot. And then they made a movie of the West Memphis 3. I forget what it was called, but it was done by a very competent director too, Adam McGowan. And the movie just sucked, and it was different having known the history and having seen the documentaries. And it's like, man, like, I don't know if it works. Like, if he's like, that's what I was going to ask you. I don't know if you know. I mean, it's kind of on the spot, but it's kind of hard. Like, I'm hoping this movie, like, the people that see this movie without knowing much about the movie or about the Von Erichs will then be like, and it probably will be like, oh man, that story's like, it's interesting and tragic. And then they look into more information and watch like documentaries or other old matches or old videos on them. But like, to me, it's hard. And it's like the people that say, oh, it's hard. The book's always better than the movie. And it's like, well, the documentaries are probably usually better than the actual movies too.
Yeah.
And so like, I was kind of like, try not to be too super critical on it going into it, but I was still kind of probably going to be super critical on it. But overall, I liked the movie. I thought it started off well. Like, it surprisingly started off well to me, like making the characters like the brothers, because the movie's based on the brothers. It's focused on the brothers. It started off good and like developing them without it seeming too rushed and like, okay, let's get to the deaths, let's get to the wrestling, let's get to the suicide. It established them pretty well, I guess, at the beginning. And I thought it started off pretty well. It didn't completely just like, I don't know, I wasn't completely like turned off by the at the beginning of the movie.
No, yeah, I feel the same way. I thought it was good. I wasn't bored or disappointed with it. It was definitely, yeah, just kind of wanting to see how the story was going to play out, and yeah, it didn't feel like the characters or the brothers were rushed out.
Yeah. And I don't know, again, so like then like I don't know, I'm kind of like an a-hole when it comes to like movies at times. And I guess another thing that I was gonna like struggle with when it comes to stuff like this, or not struggle with, like obviously it's not a struggle, but I always mention to people too, it's like the Aaron Brockovich. Like, it's a good story. Like this is true, and like the Aaron Brockovich thing was true. So like with true stories or movies that have good stories, like what makes them a good movie? Like what separates it? Like going into this movie, like you knew the story was gonna be good, you knew it was gonna be tragic and it's real. Like it doesn't seem like it's a real story if you weren't like it seems like it's too tragic to be real. Like, and if somebody did make this up, you would be like, "Oh, it's too tragic. It would never work as a movie because it doesn't seem real." But that's the catch. It is. It all this shit really happened. So my approach going into it is okay. Like the director has a good story that's established, and he didn't even have to worry about like it's just retelling the actual events. So then it's like to make this a good movie for me would be like, okay, what liberties does the director take to try to make this his own in a little bit of a way, because he's working with something that's already public knowledge and people that know about it will know about it. So as the director, what is he going to do to make it his own and stand out in an artistic way? I don't know if that makes any sense or sounds too stupid or pretentious, but that's kind of like what my approach was going into this movie.
And to your point, I mean, it makes sense because obviously you can't lie about the deaths or suicides. It's just like they happen. They're not gonna say they died a different way or they didn't commit suicide, but it's just maybe the creative liberties and how they bonded or how fast they went up the career path or whatnot. But
Yeah, and like I'm sorry, like I know I didn't explain it. My Aaron Brockovich thing is like Aaron Brockovich is a good story, and it's like yeah, and the movie was a good movie because it was done by Steven Soderbergh, a competent director as well. And but it doesn't seem like anything special. It's just like he had the fancy ingredients, he had like everything. So when he made it, it's gonna taste good just because everything is good in it. But I don't care to ever watch Aaron Brockovich again, or like it didn't like I don't care to own it. I don't care to like if it's on TV even for a little bit, I won't care to watch it.
what if you get it for your birthday?
Well, I will not watch it. How about that?
We'll see.
So don't fucking get it for me for my birthday, all right? January 26th. But that's my thing. Is so like, is this movie gonna be something that I would want to watch again? Is kind of like the standard that I kind of had with all movies, but especially these ones that are like well made and stuff. So that's kind of like what I was looking for, and to see what this director was gonna bring into the story.
Yeah.
But what were some of like the things that you like? What were some of the things that you liked about the movie, or what were some of the things that like, or what were some of the things that you would kind of highlight about the movie?
I just like, I guess the way they captured the brothers, their bond, and just I guess that household, that type of household, because in many ways I can kind of see parallels to that, I guess. But yeah, it just seems, I don't know, it seems silly when the was it Kevin when he got taken to that diner by on I guess his that first date or whatnot, that coffee date, and like
Yeah,
he didn't even know, but then it's just like it's kind of like good and bad because like the whole wrestling thing was just like his dream, but like that was all his dream was. It's like they can even have any like think anything past that.
Yeah, he just wanted to wrestle with his brothers. That's what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
That was a good scene, like when he first meets his future wife, Kevin. I guess is the Zac Efron character. And then what I liked about that was like he's like they portrayed him as, and like I don't know how true to the real Kevin Von Erich. I mean, I've seen him talk, and man, like Kevin Von Erich has a voice. Like I'd use him to like narrate any like fucking movie that I ever made, because he just has like that old worn voice. Like man, like he's he's had a life. Like I'd pick him over Morgan Freeman to narrate like my life story any day. But Zac Efron did a really good job. And then in that scene that you're referring to, like what I liked about that scene was like he's just real simple, and the girl is real simple too, but she's got more, like she wants to be a vet and all this stuff, and he just wants to wrestle and be with his brothers mostly and stuff like that. And what I liked about it was like, and they made an emphasis on it, like he told, because he was the oldest, but he made sure to let her know, well, technically I'm not the oldest. I had a older brother that died when I was a little kid, and he was real young too. He was a couple years older than me, and he died, however. And he kind of just said it outright, and like, and then she gets up and she goes to sit next to him, and she just gives him a hug, and the camera zooms out, and it's like where you just see their backs. It's not in front of them or above them anymore or to the side of them. It's like kind of behind them. And it kind of just lingers on her hugging him for a bit. And that's okay. Like I was like, man, that's a good shot. Okay, so this director's kind of winning me over a little bit, because that's a nice shot. It's kind of emphasizing some of the themes that are kind of going to come up later, like of affection and release and just like emotion. So that was a good shot. And the actress, God damn it, I can look and see what her name was, but she did a very good job too as the wife and girlfriend of Kevin Von Erich.
I believe so. Just given, I guess, her role. She had a big role, but not a big role at the same time.
Yeah, Lily James. And it wasn't really like, and for good, I guess, it wasn't really like a wrestling movie where it's like a lot of the matches, like a Rocky is like a boxing movie. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that happens outside the ring, but I would say the majority of this was like, it was about the brothers and not so much about in-ring opponents. I figured in my head, fucking the Freebirds were gonna have like a big old storyline and dialogue and this and that, and they didn't, which was all right. Although I wish Kamala would have come out and they would have done a whole 30-minute segment about Kamala or something, but they didn't, so they lost some points for that.
Yeah, that was interesting because when we saw it in theater, they were showing a lot of like the old wrestling footage, I guess, of that time, and they're showing the I think the Freebirds showed them briefly, but then I guess the one that they showed before that that they're really emphasizing was Ric Flair.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why they pushed in the movie. They did mention Ric Flair for, I guess at the time he was champion of whatever.
The NWA.
Okay, so yeah, he was the Intercontinental Champion. That
Oh, he was the heavy. It's kind of neat too, because they didn't really go into detail about how it works, but how it works is like, Fritz Von Erich, the Von Erich's dad, his federation was the WCCW, the World Class Championship Wrestling. And the NWA is like this union, like all the territories, like they all obeyed what the NWA ultimately would decree. And they all had like, each organization had their champions, but whoever the NWA deemed as the NWA heavyweight champion would technically be the higher champion over all the federations, because the NWA is kind of like a mafia type thing. They would kind of be ways to keep the territories from, before fucking Vince McMahon took everything over. It was a way for them to kind of keep the territories balanced, instead of like, oh, Ric Flair comes to our territory and he's the big guy over here, or Jerry Lawler's the big guy in Memphis, and then he comes to Dallas and they make him lose to some job or nobody. It's like they had to like kind of abide by these things by the NWA. They were kind of part of this thing. So whoever the NWA heavyweight champion was, like the ultimate heavyweight champion, excluding like the WWF and shit, but this was the champions for the territories.
mm-hmm.
So that was like the ultimate prize. Like they can be the champion in WCCW, but still it wasn't as higher than the champion of the official NWA champion. who at the start of the movie I think was Harley Race, and they wanted like that was Fritz von Erich's dream was to be that father. It was his dream to be the official NWA champion, and he never became the NWA champion. So he wanted one of his kids to become the NWA champion.
Yes. Yeah, that was pretty much their lifelong goal.
Yeah, and then it would just make sense for it to be whoever the oldest one, which was Kevin, to be the champion, him to push Kevin first, who was Zac Efron's character. And it kind of went that way for a while. And just to be honest, I remember as a kid, I remember Kevin and Carrie the most of the Von Erichs. Like, those are the two I remember the most. Carrie mostly because he's the one that made it to the WWF, the Texas Tornado. But anyway, it was the dad's dream for him to become the champion, and then he pushed that dream onto Kevin. And in the movie, they kind of, and I don't know how true, like, I was young, but I remember some of it. But at the time when I was a kid, I don't pay attention to how well the wrestlers did on the mic or the politics of everything. It's just good guys versus bad guys type stuff. So Zac Efron's character Kevin wasn't too good on the mic. He didn't have the mic skills. So according to like the movie, David, the next brother, kind of was good on the mic, and he kind of jumped over Carrie to get the shot at the NWA championship to fight Harley Race. He was going to try to fight Harley Race or something. But anyway, I guess, like I said, like, we're not going to talk too much. Like, I don't know, I want to go into the play-by-plays, but that's another scene, and that's kind of a theme that, like, I was like, when the dad, it was like a pivotal scene. The dad goes into the locker room and he's like, okay. And this is when I guess Kevin Von Erich has been teaming up with David Von Erich, the two old wrestling brothers. And then it's like David starts getting more of a push than Kevin, and the dad goes into the locker room and he's like, the NWA called us. They're giving us a match against Harley Race or Ric Flair. I think it was Ric Flair. I don't know. I think Harley Race loses the belt to Ric Flair. But they're like, so it's Ric Flair. I was like, we're going to get the shot at Ric Flair, but it's going to be David. It's not going to be Kevin. It's going to be David. And it's just kind of like, and then like the Zac Efron character, the Kevin Von Erich, is kind of shocked by it, but he's just taking it. He's listening to it. And the camera shot is kind of a high shot. And again, like I said, I'm focusing on these things because I kind of familiar with the story enough to like, okay, well, I'm going to try to focus on other stuff. So the camera, the height of the camera was higher than it needed to be, and it was almost like it was like an above shot, but not overhead shot, but it was high above, and you're in the locker room just listening to this information. So I was like, okay, that's interesting, and I'll tie it in together maybe in a little bit, but I just kind of noticed that, okay, that's an interesting. Are they going to do more with that, or how are they going to do with that?
Yeah.
Was there anything like, well, what else? Is there anything else that stood out for good or bad about the movie?
Just circling back real quick. Yeah, just I guess bad because the Ric Flair, the person who they had play Ric Flair, kind of another pivotal point in the movie. He didn't sell it as trying to portray Ric Flair. I don't know, maybe he didn't have enough cocaine or whatever to get him, but he tried. He had the lines down, I guess, and he was trying to, I say, imitate him or just replicate him, but he just didn't have the same charisma, I guess.
Yeah, that dude had the hardest job in the movie. Yeah, like that was probably definitely the worst potentially part of the movie. Not in any bad way. Like, man, I feel for the guy because yeah, fucking Ric Flair's a cartoon character, man. Like nobody like they should have. Like, I don't know how they could have gotten out of that. Like, we were talking after the movie, maybe they could have used the actual footage and then just the actor in the wrestling ring, or they could have gone bonkers the other way and had like Will Ferrell play Ric Flair and be all super cartoony, like even like cartoony for Will Ferrell or something.
Yeah.
And just like, okay, like it's gonna be super, like, yeah, like. Because he was trying, and it almost looked like it was a bad impersonation. Like he was, and I don't know. That guy had the hardest job in the movie, and he, like, man, yeah. The Ric Flair interview was probably the worst part of the movie. Not in a bad way. It's just
they kind of showed that scene, or just how the real Ric Flair, like cutting promos before the movie. So it's like you see the real thing, and you see this guy trying to emulate that.
So that was most definitely probably one of the low lights of the movie. That was probably not like, yeah, I don't know how to. I know I don't mean to
Yeah,
shit
we're
on
not
it too
shitting
much.
on the guy, but it's just
Yeah. You know what it reminded me?
Mhm.
One time when we were in elementary school, like fuck it, I don't know, stupid, but we were at the park and they were doing like a race. It was like those fucking races that they do. I don't know what it was, but they needed like they had the fastest kids already were there, but they for some reason needed some extra kid to be in it to make the numbers even. And I was a good student, and they said, "Hey, get in there and you can run, like you can be in the race." And I wasn't like they had like the top performers in there already, the top runners, the fastest runners, and then I'm me being a good kid, okay. And then the race starts, and like boom, everybody's hauling ass, and I'm like, I'm dead last. I'm trying real hard, and it's like, man, like so, I mean, I wasn't like I was. At least I was not as unhealthy as I am now, but I was still like, and I was like, man, why the fuck is everybody so much faster than me? But it kind of reminded me of that. Like, man, like I'm trying hard, and it's like, yeah, I'm in the dust. So yeah, stupid Mr. Hulkster telling me to get in there.
He's a good teacher.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the movie was good. Like you said, it didn't go too much in the ring with. I mean, it had a few pivotal matches, few pivotal spots, but they kind of showed a little bit of the underbelly of wrestling. I mean, I guess again for people who don't really watch wrestling or haven't watched the behind the mat documentaries or don't much, yeah. But they're kind of showing one match. I think it was like the first tag team where they're talking about the play by plays in the match. Oh, you're gonna do this. I'm gonna do that, and then between that, like you said, the covering the territories, getting TV coverage, and the goal is like, oh, we're champion here, but yeah, like we want the NWA championship status. That's what we're going for.
Yeah, and then it's just like the everything. It's a tough spot because it's like I think I mentioned it to you. It's like how different of a movie would Saving Private Ryan have been if it expanded upon each brother as they died and each kind of character developed each brother in Saving Private Ryan, and then it got to the Matt Damon character. Like this is kind of similar, but it didn't. Like it was just let's rescue Matt Damon, and maybe they showed a scene where where the bodies of all the other brothers. I don't even remember, but like it didn't bother. Like it knew, like okay, our story is going to be about Matt Damon. He's a surviving brother, and we got to rescue him. And it's like I don't know, like it would have been a completely different movie if they would have tried to like establish every one of those Ryan brothers.
No,
Um, I don't know. Is there anything else? Like, because I kind of have my thoughts about this movie. Like, I was thinking about it. Like, do you think the movie would have been better, or I guess it would have been darker? And I don't know why I do this. Like, it's just kind of dumb. If the movie was focused on Kerry Von Erich, who was like obviously the most successful of the brothers because he's the one that made it to the WWF and he's the one that won the Intercontinental Championship, beating Mr. Perfect. And he was the most buff of them all. It seemed like in some weird way they wanted Zac Efron to play Kerry Von Erich because Kevin Von Erich was never as buff as Kerry Von Erich, and Zac Efron got way more huge than he needed to be for the role. So, like, I don't know, like,
were you measuring his biceps?
it's just fucking crazy not to know, but like, or notice. But like, how much do you think it would have been different, or like, do you think it would have just kind of been I guess it. I guess the guy kind of chicken shitted out. Like, he didn't want it to be a downer move, and I can get that. But like, what if it would have focused on Kevin Von Erich? I mean, Kerry Von Erich, and then kind of the climax would have been like his suicide, and like, I don't know, like that would have been pretty like hardcore, I guess, right?
Yeah, and then again, just with Kevin being the last remaining brother, that you can probably see why it focused on him. But yeah, because what Kerry was he the only one that made it to WWF?
Yeah. And yeah, I want to say, or he's the only one that actually got the like a championship, and if not, yeah, I want to say I don't hold me 100%, but I even remember him getting into the WWF and being like, because as a kid, you would always like notice those things. Well, when I was in school, it was weird. We had like the WCW kids that only watched WCW and didn't watch WWF, and you had the kids that watched WWF but didn't watch WCW. But when we were kids, like we watched all wrestling. We watched like WCW, WWF, WCCW, anything we can watch. So we watched like the Cuban wrestling, and then we watched any wrestling like that we wouldn't be on. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it was a big deal. And remember Kerry Von Erich making it like his appearance in WWF.
I I vaguely remember just kind of seeing like the videos, I guess, or like the history shots or whatnot. I vaguely remember him, and yeah, I remember as a kid, yeah, you telling me that he's wrestling without like a foot, or like I guess because you had told me that he had lost his foot in a motorcycle accident, and I forgot what you said, something about them stuffing his boot. I forgot how or with what. I think you told me either you told me, I was thinking they stuffed his boot with paper or something. But at a kid's like, oh, okay, it's like whatever. But then it's like, oh shit, that really happened. I forgot about it, and I guess kind of the movie or whatnot. It's like, oh shit, and then
Yeah, that was one of those big things too. Like, yeah, it was kind of crazy that he lost his leg, or not his leg. I guess his foot. I guess a little bit more than his foot.
yeah,
But and some of the things too. And I'll send you a picture. Like, and it's gonna go. I guess go on to my other talking point, and I don't know. It might be me just sticking my head up my ass, but it and some of the images they kind of made Carrie look like a Christ figure, like with his hair, and like one of the scenes from the trailer from like that's one of the scenes that's available. Like he's looking down, and the way his hair is kind of curly, it looks like the crown of thorns on him. And he's the last brother they show die in the movie, or he committed suicide. And then Kevin gets there, and again, I'm like, I guess another thing I should mention was like, I can kind of don't really care so much about how 100% accurate this movie is or a timeline. It was really this way or that way, but I mean, I get it's a movie, and I know some people were kind of pissed off, or like you're saying, criticizing it because one of the brothers wasn't in it. But like, I can get that, like from like a movie perspective, because then they would be bitching about it being too tragic and too much and this and that. Although maybe like if somebody else was doing it, Martin Scorsese was doing it, he could get it done. But I don't know. Either way, like I'm not too hung up on whether this movie. I'm not judging it based on how accurate it is or not. But anyway, at the end when Carrie commits suicide and Kevin finds the body and he picks him up, it also is like he's kind of like it makes like a crucifix the way he's carrying his body. And I don't know if there was themes or anything like that. Like I kind of look a lot for stuff like that, and it's released around Christmas time, Resurrection, those brother story. I don't know. So this movie, I guess what works for me at least is like I would want to watch this movie again, and that's like an ultimate like that's a big deal for me because like I said, Aaron Brockovich is a good movie, but I don't never care to see it again. And there's a bunch of good movies that I are well made and got good stories that I wouldn't care to watch again. So I would give this one okay. Like I'd give it like I would admit that I would want to watch this movie again, and I would look for stuff like that. I guess any more religious themes or anything like that.
yeah,
Because I don't know, I kind of was gonna tell you like, and I started, I guess, but this is my main thing, and I'm trying to process it in my head, and maybe you can, or later on, you can think about it. Like my night job, I kind of have a lot of time to think, so I try to think about things that like movies or whatever that I've just watched.
mm,
So this is my spiel on the movie. And it kind of came, and like this is I guess the thing that upsets me the most with this movie is like I felt like, man, this director had a chance to do something fucking brilliant and amazing, and I don't think he did it, and he possibly wasn't even trying, but in my head he's trying to do it, maybe not, I don't know. But in the diner scene that we talked about earlier with the girlfriend and Kevin Von Erich talking about just shooting the shit, I guess.
yeah,
She mentioned about wrestling being real and it's fake. And Kevin was like, no, he's a real simple person that they portrayed. He's like, no, it's real. Like what we're doing is real. And then she was like, but isn't it like predetermined? And like he admits to her that it is and stuff like that. And then a thing in my head went off like, oh fuck, this is gonna be brilliant if they work it right and they do it right. If they do like how wrestling is predestined and predetermined, and how religion, like the faithful believe, like, and I don't know, I'm not religious, but like it could be like people believe like that it's God's plan and this and that, and you're following God's plan. And then there's a scene too, I think, in the trailer where he goes, mom tried to fill our lives with God, and dad tried to fill our lives with wrestling. And I was like, oh shit. So maybe they're going to do this, or this guy, Sean Durkins, can do this. And it would be badass if he does it right or if he does it well. So in my head, the Iron Claw is like the hand of God. Yeah, and we should just, I guess, elaborate. The Iron Claw was this finishing move that the dad used to do. He used to put his hand on wrestlers' faces and squeeze their face as hard, or squeeze their head or face as hard as he could. And he had like a kung fu death grip, and it's fucking wrestling, but that was his finishing move, was the Iron Claw. And then the brothers adopted that as their finishing move. So in my head, it's like, okay, the Iron Claw, Sean Durkins is going to be an artistic person, and the Iron Claw represents the hand of God. And the wrestling is predestined, predetermined. Religion, God, like this is all part of his plan, is predetermined, predestined. And then the way they made it seem, and then like they could have done it, and like I said, going back to that scene in the locker room, it's like the way the height of the camera shows to me like a God view almost. I mean, it's not overhead view like the supreme God view, but it's like maybe God's down there, he's watching, he's there, he's watching this news being passed down. The Fritz von Erich, the dad, is kind of like the God figure that these brothers can't get away from. Like he's the Iron Claw. He got his Iron Claw on them. He's dictating their lives, telling them they have to be wrestlers, this and that. They have to do this and that, and they can't get out of that. So this is the predetermined. Like they can't go off script. They can't do a CM Punk pipe bomb. Like they're doing what they're told to do. They're following their plan. They can't get off the path. And the movie kind of, and I don't know how accurate it is, like they show like once all this tragedy starts happening, Kevin's still wrestling. He got passed up a couple of times. David's dead. Carries more bigger deal and stuff. He's fighting Ric Flair, and he puts the Iron Claw on Ric Flair. And thematically, whether it's accurate timeline wise, he doesn't release the Iron Claw on Ric Flair. It's like he's breaking script. He's going off the script, and you see the dad come in there, and he pushes the dad out of the way and whatever. It's all dramatic and shit. But that was the sign. Okay, he's deviating from the script. He's getting off the path. He's breaking free from the Iron Claw. And then he technically is the brother that's going to live. And to me, so that's kind of like, if I want to watch the movie again, I would look for things like that, themes like that. And another gripe I had, and this because I'm an asshole, like when Kevin Von Erich dies, Carrie Von Erich, the last one that committed suicide, like what did you think of like the afterlife scene?
That was, I don't know. I don't know if it was needed out there. You just were trying to pull more on the heartstrings just to kind of play on the audience's emotions to
Yeah, and there's nothing like wrong with that, I guess. Like to the audience, I guess it was a pretty realistic movie. Like it didn't try to like do any type of
fantasy
or hallucinations or daydream scenes. But when the last brother, Carrie Von Erich, commits suicide, Zac Efron, Kevin Von Erich, he carries him like it's the cross. He carries him, puts him on the table, and he's crying. And then it cuts to like this, I guess, I don't know, fantasy dream sequence thing where Kevin's on a boat in the lake paddling, and then he gets to the dock. He can see his other dead brothers on the dock. And it's just
sorry, because and he left like a suicide note, and all at least in the movie, in the movie it says now I get to see my brothers again, or now I get to be something about being with his brothers again, and which
yeah.
Sorry, the segue into what you're talking about right now.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like I get like it's. For me, I'm an asshole, and that separates like a good movie from a great movie. Like this movie could have been a great movie if it would have maybe took some liberties, and that's me an asshole. Like who the fuck am I to say what? To me, I guess I should rephrase that. For me, for this to be a great movie, it could have done a little bit. I would have preferred some different choices, and for many, maybe those choices that it did make are gonna make this movie a great movie. Because so Carrie's on the boat paddling. He sees his brothers that he wrestled with, which makes sense, Jack and Michael, and they're there waiting for him. But then they move out the way, and then you see like the oldest brother who was actually died when he was a kid, and I don't even know if Carrie Von Erich was even alive when Jack was alive. he sees the little kid, so it's like there are all these grown brothers that died as they were adults, and then there was a little boy character who's technically older than all of them, but because he was born before them but died as a little kid, and they see him there too. So that was kind of weird, and it was kind of like, okay, is it like in my head I was like, they didn't need to do that, but okay, I get it. It's gonna work on a lot of people, and that's good for them. And then the very last scene was good to a point, and like I know, like it cuts to the end of it. Well, anyway, Kevin Von Erich, the surviving brother, ends up taking control of the company WCCW. I guess the dad's getting too older; he's retiring. And in the movie, I guess it's true. He sells it to, I guess, Jeff Jarrett's dad. And anyway, he's kind of breaking free. He's the one that broke free. He's like the one that got off script in the movie reality. So he's the one that got off script. He's the one that's kind of changing things. Oh, and then, shit. Real quick, too. When Kevin Von Erich kills himself, God damn it, Kerry Von Erich, I always get those two. When Kerry killed himself, the dad runs up to him and he's all pissed off. Kevin's all pissed off at the dad for it's like, why didn't you try to stop him? Why didn't you do this or that or whatever? And he ends up knocking him down and choking his own dad. That just kind of, I don't know, on a weird side note, that reminded me a lot of Cool Hand Luke at the end. And I don't mean to spoil Cool Hand Luke for those people that have been meaning to watch Cool Hand Luke and have never gotten around to it. But at the end, towards the end of Cool Hand Luke, Dragline goes and after they catch him, he goes and attacks Boss Godfrey. Boss Godfrey is also a God character. Not Luke is the Christ character. Boss Godfrey is the God character. Dragline knocks him down and his glasses fall off and he starts choking him. Very similar to, I don't know if this was an homage or a coincidence, but Dragline chokes Boss Godfrey the way Kevin is choking Fritz. It's very similar. So, and that's also another, I don't know, God type movie. I don't know. Anyway, just throwing it out there. At the end of the movie ends with Kevin watching his kids play football. And what did you think of that? Like that whole scene?
I thought it was funny because, again, just for some context, his kids are like, what, maybe like 7 years old. They're just like playing in their backyard. It's not like little league or high school or anything like that. They're just in the backyard throwing the ball. I thought it was all right. Again, I see where you're getting with this, but yeah, definitely a play on emotions, I guess, or pulling those heartstrings again.
Yeah, like it was awesome and it worked for me, except like, and I think I mentioned it to you too, like it ends like, so you see like Kevin Von Erich is watching his kids and he supposedly he didn't give him the Von Erich last name because it was a part of the curse. The Von Erichs were cursed, so his kids have a different last name supposedly in the movie. And he's sitting down there watching his kids play football in the backyard, just throwing the football at each other. And there was like a scene that I guess it parallels early on in the movie where the dad is playing football with his sons. Fritz is playing with his sons. And in this scene, Kevin is sitting on the sidelines just watching, and then all of a sudden he starts to cry. And the kids go to him and they comfort him. And like that's another thing that kind of just perturbed me because it went a little too much. Like I think less would have been more, or maybe just rearranged it somehow. But like we get it, like because throughout the movie he's like one of those dads, don't cry, we're not going to show our tears, we're going to be strong, we can't cry, and this and that. And Kevin is finally crying watching his sons play football, or just kind of messing around, throwing the football and stuff. And he finally gets that release. And then the sons go up to him, Dad, why are you crying? And then he says the line in the movie that's going to fucking make anybody with a heart, I guess I'm not one of those people, but anybody with a heart almost cry. I'm crying because I'm not a brother anymore. And then the sons tell him, but you are a brother, Dad. You can be our brothers. We'll be your brother and we'll be a family or whatever. And then he gets up like he's back in the game. He's back in the game of life. He gets up and he starts playing with his kids. And the camera, I don't know if you noticed, it raises up to about that same level as it was in the locker room for that other time he was getting the message that he's getting passed over by David. Mm. The camera rises up in a high view, but not an overhead view. Like God is still there. God is still watching. And he's there. He's back in life. And that's kind of how the movie ends. And like, I don't know. It was a good line. I give you that. Like, I just felt like towards the end they tried too much to like beat you over the head with this is a positive thing at the end. We want you to leave happy and like we don't want to completely like fuck up your day.
Yeah, because yeah, it's definitely a lot of grief or yeah, sorrow in the movie. But
Yeah. But I don't know. Like I said, this movie is like I think about it. I've been thinking about it a lot because it's a good movie, but it doesn't feel like it didn't feel fulfilled. I guess watching it,
mhm.
but it was well made, well acted, and it's a good movie.
You think they're gonna, depending on the success of this movie, if they're gonna try and make other type of wrestler movie documentaries, or you're gonna keep it to this kind of family curse thing?
No, I was talking to my like wife about it. It would be neat if they did like. Hopefully, this will make it more like the Von Erichs a thing again, to where maybe Netflix could just do like a little mini episode on each brother and then the dad. And it's like for those people that want more of it, they can go see that, or something like. But fucking man, I'm always down for wrestling stories or wrestling history things or wrestling movies or anything, man.
You always got those shoot videos.
Oh yeah, man. Well, before YouTube, yeah, used to order RF videos,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Like this was a very good movie, but I guess I was just slightly disappointed because I was hoping it would be a great movie, and that sounds dumb and weird and like a jerk. But I don't know. What do you like? How much did you like this movie?
No, I liked it. I too probably wouldn't mind watching it again just to see maybe I mean for the most part the movie's straightforward, but kind of like you were saying, if there's any like the whole certain things I might have missed or overlooked, just to kind of put more into perspective or not, or it's I've seen taking more than what it is, I guess. But either or, I'll definitely watch it again. But yeah, that one scene, that was like a heaven scene, yeah, where like all the dead brothers are connected. I did feel that was a bit out of place, just because, like you said, the rest of the movie is it's pretty grounded in reality, not even like dreams or nightmares or foreshadowing or anything like that. But then just to kind of have this random, I guess not random, but nonetheless kind of have this moment, and then it's just kind of
Yeah, like I understand why he did that, but I guess they could have established it better. More like, okay, you see Zac Efron put his head down, or he's trying to like him doing it, or it just kind of like, yeah, it felt weird. But I mean, I get it. It works. It'll work for most people, and most people like. And I don't mean that as an insult or anything. Like it works, but it's just I don't know. Like I'm also thinking about, yeah, how much is this guy just trying to like. And like another thing too, like I'm pretty sure the real Fritz von Erich, it was probably a lot worse than the way he was portrayed in the movie. And I don't know, like I don't know,
yeah, I get you.
but overall, it's a very good movie.
You would recommend it?
Yeah, I would recommend it. And then I do like I hope all good comes from this, and more people learn about them, and more people try to not just shit on it like I do, but just like I don't know. It seems like a lot of people are like, oh, things that lied to you about, or why did they not have this brother in the story? People that never heard of him are fucking experts at what it did wrong in the history of the Von Erichs and shit like that now.
No.
But yeah, I would much rather people watch this than Wonka or fucking Aquaman.
You think they would do one on the Hart Foundation?
The Hart family?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be good, and there would be less to focus on. That would probably could make for a better movie.
Because I mean, what shit? Anvil, British Bulldog, Owen Hart, Bret Hart,
Yeah.
everything. I mean, he's alive, but he got fucking Goldberg ruined his career.
Yeah, and just like the whole thing too, like being born into something and
The Montreal screw job.
yeah.
Because it was what, 12 of them? Because I know we're getting a bit off topic, but I know that at one point WWF had like all wrestle for whatever
Yeah, like
special.
some Survivor Series match or something.
Yeah, but I think the biggest obviously be Bret Hart and Owen. Like,
Yeah, that was it. And then Bulldog was like related through marriage, and Anvil was whatever cousin or whatnot, or
yeah,
brother-in-law or something. I don't know. It's still not better than the wrestler with what's his name, Mickey Rourke. Or would you like it better than the wrestler? I don't even know. Did you ever? What'd you think of? Ah, fuck it. I know we're getting off topic, but
I would need to watch it again. I saw it only once a while back, but I'll have to watch it again.
yeah,
But yeah, it was good. I like wrestling as well. And like you said, it's kind of the not necessarily the lore, but just like yeah, anything wrestling related is always something to check out.
yeah, and like with those Vice things too are pretty badass. They're kind of re-establishing some of the crazy ass stories.
Yeah, definitely. But with that being said, I think it's a good wrapping up point.
Yeah,
Cool. But yeah, this is our movie corner discussion of The Iron Claw. And yeah, I think once it comes out on, I guess a physical copy, whatever, I'll probably try and grab it. And then never know what type of special features they'll have with any additional commentary or whatnot.
yeah, or old matches and shit.
Yes. But sure, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Check out any of our other videos. But I was joined here with Augie the Froggy.
Hey.
I am Obviously 2003 signing out. Have a wonderful good one.
Thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this Odds and Ends Gaming video. If you did, please consider leaving a like, commenting, sharing with your friends, and subscribing if you haven't already. And as always, don't forget to settle down.